Developing mindfulness is a skill very much worth the effort. In modern psychology, mindfulness has been found to be a very important component to mental health. It is often cultivated through various forms of meditation, but it can also be incorporated into daily activities such as walking, eating, or interacting with others. By practicing mindfulness, we develop a greater clarity, focus, and emotional resilience, and reduce stress and anxiety. We can then use mindfulness off and on during the day whenever it's useful. Well, meditation is an ancient practice that's been studied scientifically in recent decades. With advancements in brain scanning technology, we can now see inside the brain and see what happens as a result of this basic mental practice. We now know that meditation can rewire connections in the brain. There is downregulation in parts of the brain associated with stress and threats, and upregulation in the area of the brain associated with feelings of well-being. And the more one practices, the stronger these changes. Meditation practice does not aim to change your thoughts. The practice is to change how you relate to your thoughts. Your mind is always thinking thoughts, just like your lungs are always breathing breaths. This mental activity is a constant mix of plans, memories, feelings, impressions, intentions, deep thoughts, trivial thoughts. It is constant, much like a stream of water, and is in fact sometimes referred to as the thought stream. However, one part of this stream differs from all the rest, and that is awareness. Our minds can think of stuff and at the same time be aware that we're thinking of stuff. Awareness is separate and apart from all the rest. The mind has one part that thinks stuff and another part that observes what it is thinking. Awareness has two important qualities: voluntary and involuntary. To some extent, it's under our voluntary control. Much like a flashlight, we can point awareness wherever we like. The light beam can be narrow like a laser or diffuse like a lamp. A second quality of awareness is that it can also be involuntarily captured and redirected. If there's a sudden loud noise outside, you'll instantly forget what you're doing and you'll focus on this unexpected event. If something triggers a memory with a strong emotion attached to it, your awareness might be captured for a moment by this internal event. Having more voluntary control over awareness is associated with a feeling of well-being. Less control over awareness is often associated with more stress and emotional reactivity. So, how do we develop more control over awareness? That's where meditation practice comes in. It's like exercising a muscle. You do repetitions of an exercise and the muscle strengthens. Here we want to strengthen a mental muscle. Some people prefer a voice to guide them in focusing their awareness. This can aid in practice, but try also to practice guiding yourself without an external aid. The skill set that develops from self-guided practice differs a little bit from guided meditation. So now we've set up a contrast. So we have the thought stream on the one hand, we peel off awareness, we're focusing on our breath. And to help us stay anchored on our breath, we're going to try to pay attention to something about our breath. So a simple practice is just mentally note whether the breath is on the in part of the breath cycle or the out part of the breath cycle. When you inhale, mentally whisper the word in on the inhalation and the word out on the exhalation. Try to stretch the in-out whisper to cover the whole breath cycle. So I don't say it out loud, it's like a mental whisper. In my mind's eye, it would sound like So we want to stay with that in-out whisper. Now, we want to approach this with what we call a playful seriousness. So you want to have a good intention of noticing this in-out whisper as the most important thing. You can pretend, as a thought experiment, pretend that you're on a game show and there's $1 million riding on you keeping track of that in-out whisper. Sometime during the 15 minutes that you're practicing, the game show host will say, in or out. And if you were thinking about what you're going to eat for lunch, you just lost $1 million. So do it like there's $1 million riding on it. Or if you have a little darker side, you can imagine that a bad guy has a loved one hooked up to a bomb, and if you lose track of the in-out whisper, then there goes your loved one. Or you could just say, people have been doing this for thousands of years, let me follow the instructions and see what all the fuss is about. So whatever motivates you to have a strong intention to stay focused, use that to bolster your practice. Now, so we have our attention on our breath. We've formed a strong intention playfully to stay focused on our breath, but we're going to add one more thing. Whenever we exhale, there's a little short pause before we have the next inhalation come. And in that pause, we're going to put the count. So we're going to count each breath cycle. So in my mind's eye, it would sound like, this isn't so hard. I think I get the hang of this, but I'm kind of hungry. Wonder what I should have for lunch. Maybe I'll have a hamburger. Maybe a cheeseburger, that'd be good. No, I'm getting too fat. Oh, wait, where was I? Well, that's what will often happen. So I'm focusing on my breath with a good intention, and I'm counting the in and out breath cycles. And then before I know it, my awareness floats up and it starts following the thought stream, and maybe a hamburger thought about lunch. So, not a problem. When that happens, what I do is I uncouple from the thought stream, bring my awareness back to my breath, and then just start again at 1. In out 1, in out 2, in out 5, in out 7, and it happens again. No problem. Just uncouple from the thought stream, gently redirect back to your breath, and start again at 1. In out 1, in out 2, in out 5, in out 10, in out 15. It happens again. Oh no, I'm the worst meditator ever. I'm never going to get the hang of this. This is too hard. I have ADD. Well, those are all just more thoughts. Just follow the instructions. As soon as you lose the count, uncouple from the thought stream, gently redirect back to the breath, and start again at 1. So you'll find that with time, as you build up this mental muscle, you will be able to, as it gets stronger, you'll get higher and higher in the count. So now let's talk about some variations of practice that you can do once that mental muscle starts to get stronger. So if you can reliably get up to 50 without losing the count very much, maybe a time or two, then what you want to do is practice first, let go of the count. So the counting is linear, so it's real obvious when you lose the count. If I drop the count, then I have the in-out whisper, and it's circular, so it's a little more subtle when I drift away, because I'll just notice I'm drifting away and I'm not paying attention to whether I'm on the in or the out part. So you do that for a while till you can do your regular meditation practice without drifting away very much. Once you are able to do that with just the in-out whisper, Then experiment with dropping the in-out whisper and just sit with your breath. So at that point, you've built up your awareness that you can recognize, am I focusing on the here and now, or am I focusing on the thought stream up in my head? With that, I'll notice like when I get captured and I just uncouple and come back and sit with my breath. We can do that for a while, and when you get very comfortable doing that, then the next thing that we can do is actually sit back and watch our thoughts. So we have the awareness following the thought stream, but in this way, it's a little bit different. I'm not in the thought stream. I'm over here observing the thought stream. So it's very different to fall in a stream, because then the stream's going to carry you wherever the water's going, than it is sitting up on the shore and watching what's going by. And so that's kind of what we do when we start watching the thoughts. But it's really hard to not fall into that thought stream. So to support our practice a little bit, we'll do what's called the naming practice. So naming practice is when you use the present progressive, so an ing word, to just whisper what kind of thoughts are you observing going by in your mind's eye. So the mental whispering might sound like this. Remembering, judging, planning, thinking, hoping, remembering. And you do it at a cadence of about every 4 or 5 beats. Try to notice what's going by in your mind's eye and what present progressive ing word will best describe that. If you can't think of something right off the bat, then just simply use the word thinking. Now, to get the habit of meditating going, if you're just starting out, it's good to pair it with a habit that you already have. So, like if you hardly ever leave home without eating breakfast, then you might pair it with breakfast. And then what happens is the new habit, meditation, gets cued and inherits some of the habit force of the habit that already exists, in this case eating breakfast. So that's what the author James Clear calls habit stacking. You pair one that's just trying to get started with one that's well established. So take the meditation out for a spin. See if it sharpens your focus. See if your awareness muscle gets stronger. And then practice shifting into mindful mode at various times during the day. And then notice how your well-being begins to grow. So have a great rest of the day.